Hello and welcome to Ger Class. I'm your host, Rabbi David Katz. All right, we're going to cover two streams of thought tonight. And God willing, on Thursday, we'll continue with the piece on the Rebbe Got Ger, type 1. And tonight we're going to pick up two previous streams of thought, both of which may not take that long. I don't know if it needs to be hashed out tonight. As per one of the last classes that we gave about Chad Blumenstiel's take on Noahide, I did find on YouTube the pilot video / class of the Pirkei Shoshanim Noahide project, partnered through Noahide Nations. Because they have partnered with Ask Noah, who sponsored the Sheva Mitzvahs Hashem project authored by Rabbi Weiner, to which there is a faction trying to establish the halacha of Noahide a certain way. They're on a side note, they're trying to say Ger doesn't exist. And we showed in that packet, I think that was tonight's class. Was that tonight's class a week ago? I think it was. One or two. I think that was last week. We did it tonight, right? Yeah. All right, so we're on target. And you saw in that packet a lot of interesting ways of learning things. And you know what? We're actually let's make this a bit of a weaving project. Remember the Shava Cohen and the Shituf? Man, that really fits good. Remember that? Type 1. Well, tonight we're going to go into Shituf, so it fits really good. Man, that fits really, really good. 1 or 2. Come on, type 1, because you should know what I'm talking about. So in that video, because it's a bit of a dodgy thing to say that we know what they're doing if we don't know what they're doing. So even though I can learn their material and I can tell you my rabbinic opinion based on what I'm seeing, their classes have an audio and a written component. So if they're saying something different, then you would have to say that the spoken word is the authority. Would you agree with that? Meaning if I wrote on the packet, my name is Bob Johnson, but I said in the class, my name is Rabbi David Katz, would you assume that the packet is wrong and or a typo? We have a little computer message going on here. And if I said my name, you'd assume this guy knows how to say his name. It just might be that for some reason it was written different. So when you see something written and someone's there giving an audible testimony of something, I think we have to go with the audio. 1 or 2. Hello. 1 or 2. You guys with me? Hello. Good. All right. So now what we're saying is that in that video, and I forgot to put the link on my video until someone reminded me last week. And again, I can present the link to this video, but I ask you to remind me once again because I will forget. The agenda is very simple, and I feel bad to use the word agenda. Is it's not that evil. I wouldn't even call it evil at all. I think some of the tactics going on are a little bit unwarranted, but here's what the Ask Noah Divine Code, Pirkei Shoshanim, Chad project is all about. And Justin, back me up on this if you think I'm on or off on this, because I know you saw the video. What I'm getting from that video is they made a course for not so well-learned rabbis And before you jump on my case, what do you mean a not well-learned rabbi? We're talking about pulpit rabbis. And they say that specifically in the video. The pulpit rabbi. The pulpit rabbi is not meant to be a Talmud Chacham. That's like saying the checkout girl at the grocery store is a math genius because she can give you the appropriate change. Okay? Counting back change does not make you a math wizard. If you are a pulpit rabbi, pretty much by definition, you are not a huge Talmud Chacham, or you wouldn't be a pulpit rabbi. I guess there are always exceptions to the rule, but if you're taking Pirkei Sheshanim online to learn about the Noahide laws, it can be assumed you are not a big Talmud Chacham. To prove my point, Rabbi Kanievsky is not a pulpit rabbi, and he doesn't go to internet courses to learn Torah. The Talmud Chacham is expected to learn it inside, and he knows who to ask and what to ask and how to ask should he find a question. And they are giving were giving those courses alongside B'nai Noach. And the pulpit rabbi, and Jacques, as you and I saw this in Cape Town, the pulpit rabbi's agenda is all these goyim are coming to my office. They want in my synagogue. Do I kick them out as goyim? Do I entertain them as B'nai Noach? Rabbi, what do I do with all these goyim knocking on my door seeking the God of Israel? Type 1 if you know what I'm talking about. Jacques, you for sure should type 1. And the Pirkei Sheshanim said, you know what? Let's educate the mainstream pulpit rabbis, because they are mainstream. They're the shepherds of Jews. And Jacques, you should type 1 because you know that to be true. The shul rabbi in the diaspora is basically more or less, if not entirely, leading the masses. The yeshiva world is a little different because that goes by learning Torah on an academic level. The pulpit rabbi, he is a shepherd, and he's got to keep his congregation Jewish and pure and keeping the law. You know, saying he's got to steer the ship. So when non-Jews are knocking on his door, he's got to know how to answer that. I mean, he can just kick him out if he wants to, but let's assume he doesn't want to be rude. So he goes to the course and he learns about B'nai Noach. And the B'nai Noach are there learning about how to be B'nai Noach in the exiled Jewish world. My name is Rabbi Goldstein, and I'm a pulpit rabbi. And your name is Bob, and you are a goy who lives in Detroit. And you are the goy Bob who knocked on my shul door, and you said, hi, Rabbi, my name's Bob. I'm a goy. Can I do something Jewish? And I say, as Rabbi Goldstein, well, Bob, have you learned the Noahide laws? And Bob says, I've heard about it. A friend of mine was on something or other and recommended I read this book called Path of the Righteous Gentile. And I'm a righteous Gentile, so I read it. But I didn't understand it, Rabbi. And I say, well, we've moved on from chlorophene in Path of the Righteous Gentile. We are now poskening like the Divine Code. Here's your free copy, and you can come and watch us pray Friday night. Be good, Bob, and don't get in too much trouble. But, Bob, you did reject Christianity. Is that correct? And he says, yeah, I'm out of the church, and I'm just looking for some truth. And so that would be a little mushel of the relationship of Rabbi Goldstein and Bob, and those two characters will be seen in the Pirkei Sheshanim program. Type 1 if you can relate to the characters that I'm presenting here. So we're going to go to class, and remember, I'm the mainstream rabbi, pulpit rabbi. This is our friend Bob, and he's a good goy, and he's assertive. He brought his number 2 pencil, and he even asked Rabbi Goldstein if there will be a Scantron test. That's for you, Justin. And what we want to accomplish here in our little construct is Rabbi Goldstein belongs to a construct of rabbis. Jacques would call them the MO crew, right? Largely, it's going to be modern Orthodox. Maybe a Chabad house, maybe a Kiruv center. Let's assume the Reform and conservative guys aren't coming into this discussion. So my name's Bob, and I rejected the church, and I would like to keep the 7 laws, and I found Rabbi Goldstein in Detroit. Chances are Rabbi Goldstein is some kind of modern Orthodox or modern Kiruv congregation. Okay, the Bob the Goy does not know what a kollel is. He's not going to end up in yeshiva, so he's going to find modern Orthodox as largely the Jews. Let's just call it America for sake of discussion. Most of the shuls are going to be modern Orthodox as long as it's not conservative Reform. And if Bob is a little spunky, he'll find a Chabad place. And if he finds Chabad, then it goes without saying that they're going to give him divine code, as Rabbi Weiner is a Lubavitcher, type 1, if you understand where I'm at with the mashal. So with that said, we understand this. The modern Orthodox Rabbi Goldstein, let's just paint his background here. He went to Yeshiva University, which is modern Orthodox. He's a Mora d'Asra. He renders Jewish law for the community. He learns a little bit. He's a sharp guy. He looks good. He's got the Jewish family going. He's an all right guy. He's fundraising for the shul. There's a board, with people on the board and things like that. It's a little operation. So Rabbi Goldstein, he's not going to be a radical. He's not fringe. He's not weird. Okay, he plays by the book. He keeps the Shulchan Aruch. He's frum. You go to his house on Shabbos, you're going to see everything kosher. He's not shaking hands with your wife. His wife's hair is covered. You understand the look? And we're not getting into different denominations. Is he Chabad? Is he Breslov? He just wants to be kosher within the realm of kosher Torah. And he doesn't know what we hold as Jews. He doesn't know. Just like I don't know how cemeteries are run. I don't know. I don't work in that field. I can't even go in a cemetery as a Cohen. So don't ask me about what is kosher for a burial. I don't know. Not my business. But if someone called me and said, Rabbi Katz, you have all these people that need to know this thing, maybe I would take an online course, kosher cemeteries, the beginner's course for pulpit rabbis. I'm not a pulpit rabbi. I might take that course. I don't have time to schlep out the Shulchan Aruch and the Torah on this. So I would find out what normal Jews do. Right? Normal Jews do this and that. And I'm not looking to rock the boat or break out of gullus and say, wow, the cemeteries are so gullus. I just want a meat, potatoes understanding of normal practice in Jewish law. Type 1. Now, we know that in Judaism, maybe that might not be the best scenario. I don't know. Maybe there's a whole political struggle in cemeteries. I don't know. It could be that in Poland they buried people better. I don't know. But let's assume that there is a better way. I don't know any better, so leave me alone, right? I don't know. And if I found out that there's a whole thing going on that I don't know about, okay, so I'll learn about it, God willing. And the Noahide, well, he's coming to this kosher synagogue, so apparently he wants to know, how do I get along in that synagogue? He doesn't know anything else, or he wouldn't have knocked on the door of a synagogue, type 1. So you got to assume they're on the same page. They're both trying to so-called mainstream. And what Pirkei Shoshanim is doing is they're laying out a mainstream program. And I'm all for that. I'm all for that. So we're going to teach the Jew who has interactions with non-Jews and wants to know a little bit more and the non-Jews who have interactions or desires with Jews wants to know a little bit more. We're going to sit them down and teach them the 60 class outline. Now here's where it gets agenda. Ready? We want to make sure that this Noahide, we're going to call him a Noahide, is uniform, mainstream, and therefore the pulpit rabbi can ask anyone in the world, and everyone will know what he's talking about. And Bob can tell everyone in the world he's a Noahide, look at his t-shirt, and everyone will know what that means. Does anybody disagree with that? Rabbi Goldstein wants to know Noahide law. Bob wants to be a Noahide following Noahide law. We're calling that mainstream. Does anybody have a problem with that? No problems. It's kosher. It's legitimate. Entry level. We're all good. But when you try to say that every Jewish instructor is to adhere to Noahide, and that is the only mainstream, and 7 billion non-Jews are potential Noahides, and we just have to get the Pirkei Shoshanim and Divine Code out to the world. And by the way, if you go against us, we're going to come after you. You don't go against the mainstream. You don't have the right to another opinion. All these different things. Now, isn't that where it gets a little funny? That's where it gets a little funny. I understand mainstreaming and making everyone on the same page. But you can't then crusade everybody not like you. Number one, that's not how Jewish law works. Number two, not everybody's a pulpit rabbi. Number three, not everybody's Bob. Now, I understand that there's an entry level. And you know what? I'm not against that either. In fact, I told people that on my trip to South Africa. Even though Noahide might not be the most fulfilling emistic path out there, at least in perception, I do recommend that you shelve your personal ambitions of spirituality and become a Noahide. Because then at least you're in the framework of something kosher, and as you grow, you'll find the fulfillment and God relationship. For me as a Baal Tshuva, it was the same thing. I thought I was spiritual and Mr. Baal Tshuva, and yay me. And I had to shelve all that and become a Baal Tshuva in the system, and I had to have emunah that in that system I would be able to grow and find the fulfilling truth. Best decision I ever made. And it was a no-brainer. Meaning, nobody wants to be low-life, entry-level, Noahide, or Baal Tshuva. But being an enlightened Messianic isn't going to help you either, type 1. Right? Being some fringe, wild, weirdo Jew, Baal Tshuva, with a near-death experience isn't going to help you either. So now that we have outlined that, that's the agenda of Pirkei Shoshanim, Ask Noah, Moshe Weiner, the whole Noahide world. And it's not a bad agenda. They're trying to mainstream and unify and get everyone on the same page so that the half-ignoramus rabbi can come learn and the half-shagitz Bob can come learn, and they get along, and Bob sees the rabbi's okay, and the rabbi sees Bob's okay, and they have some herring and schmaltz together, make a couple trite jokes, go to a conference or two, write each other a pen pal snail mail letter, and everyone sings Kumbaya, and it's hunky-dory. And I'm not against that. But don't tell me that that's all there is silly T-shirts and little conventions. Don't tell me that. Number one, that's not really mainstream. The pulpit rabbi is not mainstream Judaism. It's a type of mainstream Judaism, but don't tell me that that is the definition of mainstream Judaism, a bunch of yeshiva university guys becoming pulpit rabbis, shepherding the Jews in exile. That's all we know of as Jews and Judaism. It's just simply not true. Now, Chabad is out there also intermingling with the modern Orthodox, and they're going to sell you the divine code too, but for a different reason. For them, it's going to be, well, it's Chabad written, and the Rebbe endorsed it, and the Rebbe said, B'nai Noach, and I'm Lubavitch. Did you ever think about being B'nai Noach since I'm Chabad, and you're not Jewish, and that's what we should do, type 1. And then if you're Breslov, and you're out there doing Kiruv, you'll say, hey, well, I'm Breslov, and I'm not Chabad, but Breslov is kind of like Chabad, at least when both Chuvas are concerned. And the 7 laws are really cool. I come from a bunch of Goyim myself. So therefore, now that I'm Jewish, or at least a practicing Jew, hey, you're not Jewish. Did you ever think about the 7 laws? By the way, did you read the Garden of Emunah? Rabbi Nachman's awesome. And we go from there. Type 1 or 2. And then again, it gets complicated when you go to complicated places, because sometimes you get interesting, unique places. But for the large majority of mainstream, it's going to be either Chabad or modern Orthodox. And they're not even remotely the same, but in terms of Bob the Goy and the Baal Tshuva, they're kind of the same. We find Chabad rabbis now being rabbis in modern Orthodox institutions. And Chabad shuls cater to a modern Orthodox crowd. Maybe it's a strange couple, but yet they are becoming a couple. But there's something else called yeshivish Judaism. You might find a kollel, advanced yeshiva. And for them, B'nai Noach is not a mainstream category. B'nai Noach is a category of goy struggling to keep the 7 laws and is synonymous with an akum. But Ger Toshav is a legal fiction that we find interesting to discuss if there is one today. And then we'll read Aaron Soloveitchik's discourse about how there is a Ger Toshav today, and it becomes an interesting discussion through the ages. What is the nature of Ger Toshav? Did we ever meet one? If we met one, it's interesting. The bottom line is, Ger Toshav is an option. The reason why it's a theoretical option is most people have never met one. I guarantee you, if you're sitting in Kollel in Borough Park, you never met a Ger Toshav. But if you grow up in Dayton, Ohio, you may have grown up with more than one Ger Toshav. I know that I did. The proof of the pudding is that Ger Toshav friend of mine came to the Vendel Jones Memorial Conference. And he didn't come because of me. He came because he's a self-identified Ger. And that experience that he's drawing on, as far as it's related to me, happened when I was 15 years old, when I didn't know from Borscht, yet he didn't believe in Jesus as a kid, rejected Shituf, and when he found out about Ger, he fit in like a fish in water. There just is the type of non-Jew who rejects Shituf. And he's not the same as Bob the Goy. It's just not the same. Just like the Lubavitcher and the modern Orthodox are not the same. So to put them all on the same page and mainstream that is not the same. You can't do that. Now we're going to start kind of blending in today's topic with last week's topic. What they want to do is ignore the facts in order to mainstream. It's like making a hybrid. Hey, everybody likes Mountain Dew, but other people like Dr. Pepper. Let's just mix them together and call it Mountain Pepper. Then everyone will like it. It's mainstream. It doesn't taste as tangy as Mountain Dew, but it says, and it's not as peppery as Dr. Pepper, and we'll make it between a brown and green kind of a snotty, mucusy color, and we'll put a half-naked woman on the sales package to make them buy it, mainstream it out, give it a trite little commercial, and convince everyone that this is what they should be drinking, mountain pepper. You can't take B'nai Noach and say either that Shituf doesn't matter or just pretend that they rejected Shituf. The soul knows the difference and needs the difference. For someone who wants to reject Shituf, you can't just say, well, it's like you rejected Shituf. Don't worry about it. And as the question came up tonight, let's say that's true. Let's say in the Pirchei Shoshanim, Noahide rejected Shituf, right? And it's just assumed. Because obviously, from a logical perspective, a Noahide shouldn't do Shituf, right, Jacques? You shouldn't be in Shituf. It's not good to do Shituf. You should have just not do Shituf. So now that I threatened you and scared you, and I better not catch you doing Shituf, now you're not doing Shituf. Does that feel good? Does that feel good? Now that I told you not to, you're not doing it. How do y'all feel, my happy Noahide friends? So once we make you into that little box, and you're called, let's just call you Noahide, but let's change it and say the translation of Noahide is Ben Noach. Okay, my Ben Noach friends? Now, don't ask me for a source, because if you ask me for a source, then I'll just do a straw man argument. Well, it's on you to present the source. Oh, well, thanks for the quiche. But if we were playing with sources, and you're a Ben Noach, can you show me where it says B'nai Noach have to reject Shituf? In fact, I'll show you sources that the halacha is a Ben Noach is not warned against Shituf. And let's pretend that you ignore that Lefib Shuto. And I'm a Ben Noach and I rejected Shituf because you said so. How am I different than the Noahide that didn't reject Shituf? Meaning you're calling me a Ben Noach and my friend who just left the church is a Ben Noach, and you're saying that we're the same Ben Noach. How do you resolve that? One Ben Noach is Mamish Agoy. One Ben Noach, according to you, by your coercion, has rejected Shituf. But we're both called Ben Noach. So I, the Ben Noach rejection of Shituf, because you made me, am the same as an Akum, which ironically enough means idol worshiper. Does that make sense to you? So it doesn't make sense. And this is why in the halacha, if you don't want to use the G word, then you could call the Ben Noach rejected Shituf either Ben Noach Gamor or Ben Noach Kosher. It's kind of like saying Ben Noach plus. But the only problem is, for example, Rabbi Schwartz, who makes the B'nai Noach come before a Beit Din, that should be a Beit Din to reject Shituf. And in his writings, he calls them Ben Noach Gamor, but in person, he leaves off the Gamor. So now we're back to B'nai Noach, and again, no distinction of Shituf or non-Shituf. And on a side note, I finally realized the argument of the secular Noahides versus the Ger Toshav people. A Ger or a Ger Toshav is someone who rejects Shituf and not because I coerced you. Even though the mitzvah is lichof, I do force you. But my forcing you is to present to you the opportunity, and you take the opportunity to reject Shituf. You're now called Ger Toshav. That Ger Toshav is halachically not a goy or of the nations. Rambam 8, 10, 11, by the way. And what the secular Noahides are complaining about is, I'm a Noahide who became a Ger Toshav. Your complaint with me is I left the group for my own personal salvation. I saw y'all diddle-doddling around, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go and reject Shituf before Beit Din or even by myself. Here I did it. I reject Shituf. I'm now Ger Toshav. What they're saying is you're selfish and you're only doing it for yourself. There are 7 billion people who are Noahides who unfortunately are not observant Noahides. Now, I'm a Noahide, and I rejected Shituf, or at least I was forced to. But I hate my neighbors because they're Christians, which means they're heretical Noahides. And I need to now go and become a Jehovah's Witness knocking on their door saying, did you reject Shituf today? See, we should all be Noahides, and we should all basically beat each other up and crusade on each other to make us not be Shituf. And then we'll all be B'nai Noach who rejected Shituf because it's a good idea to not do Shituf. Even though we're not commanded to, and I will agree with this, we all know that Shituf is not good. So since it's not good, when you say that we can do Shituf, you're implying it's good to do Shituf, which, by the way, no one says that. When we say that you shouldn't do Shituf, that does not, that it's not forbidden to do Shituf, that is not a direct implication. Hey, why don't you go ahead and do Shituf? All we're saying is you don't have to reject Shituf. And the inference is, by the way, would you like to reject Shituf? And if you say yes, you would, then you're called Ger Toshav. Or you, again, if you don't like the G word, you can call yourself Ben Noach Kosher or Ben Noach Gomor, which, as Rav Soloveitchik points out, are terms of non-Ger Toshav Gomor. So the argument is, who are you to get out of the communal problem for the sake of rejecting Shituf for yourself? And they're saying it's like communism. We're in this together. We all reject Shituf on our own, and we get everyone to do it. And we're only successful when 7 billion non-Jews have rejected Shituf and realize it's good not to do Shituf, and it's good and obligated to keep the 7 laws. I won't say they're wrong, but the problem I have is them saying that Ger Toshav is wrong. If someone wants to reject it on their own, that's their choice. If someone wants to fight it out amongst the nations, that's their choice. So now that we're talking Ger Toshav and Shituf, Shituf is the Jewish level of Avodah Zarah. A Jew may not engage in Avodah Zarah on the level of even Shituf. The B'nai Noach are not warned against Shituf. Now, I'm looking at a monitor. If I am so wise in Avodah Zarah that I say this monitor is God mamish, chas v'chalila, and I am so into it, their lahavdil is no God, and this monitor is the creator of the world, and I worship the monitor. I kill people as sacrifice to my computer monitor, and I know how to do that. That is Avodah Zarah, and that is a serious crime. If I am a lunatic and I try to sell people on Facebook my religion of monitor worship, but I have not successfully replaced the theology of God, I'm called a crazy man. Maybe the Torah would say kill a crazy on that level. I don't know. But it's not avodah zarah. I'll never forget the mashal when I was a kid in summer camp. I forget what caused the mashal, but the guy's answer was, it's about as successful as putting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich into a disk drive. Guess what happens when you put a peanut butter and jelly sandwich into a disk drive? The answer, absolutely nothing. It's called you're a moron. So when you do Shituf, the world believes in God today, but people believe in Shituf today. So yes, there's a creator, but we'll say we can't reach him. He's too high. It's too complicated. Jesus, blah, blah, blah. Krishna, blah, blah, blah. That's called Shituf. That's not avodah zarah. Now, the Noahide world would say, so are you saying it's good to be a Hare Krishna? Is it good to be a Christian? I did not say that. I said they are not warned against Shituf. What the inference is it is good to reject Shituf because of that and to become Ger Toshev. The danger of Shituf is when you then turn your Shituf into avodah zarah. As we saw with the generation of Enosh, that's how avodah zarah started. So if you want to do avodah zarah and get the wisdom to do it, get a good Shituf and just keep moving towards worshiping Shituf. If for several generations we can resurrect the religion to worship my computer monitor, we will be successful in replacing God with monitorism. And then we would all be chayav misa. Literally. But until you do that, you are not committing avodah zarah, you are committing Shituf. But again, why is Shituf so bad that we say you really shouldn't do it even though you can? Because if, God forbid, you do come to worship, not pray to, you can pray to anything. That's called Shituf. But if you worship, this is the creator of the world, then your Shituf became avodah zarah. So Shituf is so close to avodah zarah, never could you say, well, Christianity is okay because Shituf is okay, and it's okay to be a Christian. If you're a Christian, you're flirting with avodah zarah. But how about this? If you're a Noahide, you're flirting with Shituf. Type 1. Do you want to flirt with Shituf? Ger Toshev, hello, type 1, hello. Ger Toshev is clear of Shituf, of avodah zarah, of false religion. And if you deny Ger because it's just too hard, and you're convinced that Ger Toshev of the Rambam 8, 10, and 11 Hilchos Malachim is a Ger Toshev Yovel because you didn't learn it right, because you want Noahide to be it, because it's easier to mainstream and get everyone on the same page, and Ger only confuses people, which it doesn't. All you got to do is learn it right, and you just keep learning it right. But Noahide is a problem when you take the koiches of Ger and you mesh it with Noahide because it's too difficult for you to separate the difference between Noahide and Ger. Then you get Noahides who are half interested in rejecting Shituf. Some of them are not interested in rejecting Shituf. Some of them want Shituf. and then they all battle it out, which becomes a Shituf in its own right. When Ger Toshav is a place where nobody is in Shituf, does anybody wonder why there's no arguments in the Ger world? I've been in the Ger world now for 6 years. I have yet to see an argument. You know why? Because no one's bringing Shituf in. And what do people argue about? Shituf. What is the argument Noahides are making with Ger world? Shituf. They perpetuate the argument by keeping Shituf in the B'nai Noach discussion. You want to end the argument? That's why the Rambam puts Ger Toshav in Hilchos Melachim 10:11 with the Chassidim Musa Olam. That's why everyone learned it that way, without exception. Any questions, Ad Khan? I think we covered everything. The opinions from the Noahide world on Shituf is they cannot bring you a definitive source that says Shituf is Asr, because it doesn't exist. Shituf is mutter. Worshipping Shituf is Asr. All they're left with is a svara, straw man argument, Avraham Streimel argument. How do you know that Avraham wore a Streimel? Would Avraham not wear a Streimel? How do you know Shituf is forbidden for Noahides? Should a Noahide do Shituf? You can't prove Torah from a logical argument. It's called svara. And I agree with you. Noahides should not do Shituf. If it was up to me, I would agree with you. But we don't go by Seichel Anushi. We go by what the Torah said. And the Torah said Noahides can engage in Shituf. Now, when you deny the Torah Shabbal Peh, you'll say, oh, so you're saying that Christianity should be endorsed. We have a tradition that pig will become kosher in the future. It's a midrash from the Orach Chaim. Does that mean that we should eat pig in the future? The answer is no. Just because something, even if it's only an allegory, to show something could be allowable, that doesn't mean you can do it. What's an example of a Noahide non-Christian that does Shituf? How about a Noahide himself for making his rabbi the new pastor? That's Shituf. What's an example of a Noahide that does Shituf? That's not a Christian. But that's the answer. That's the answer. It's called when any heretical Noahide is deemed heretical for making his own religion, then it becomes Shituf. Because he doesn't understand God. And he will make a mistake in his knowledge of God. My example for the Muslim. You guys want to hear my impression of Muslim Shituf? You guys want to hear that impression? Two Muslims are talking. When Allah comes, he will kill the heretics, the infidels. And then a Muslim says, yes, when Allah comes, he will do that. When Allah comes, all will kneel before Allah. And then the guy says, yes, when Allah comes, all will kneel before Allah. And then the guy says, yes, when Allah comes, Muhammad, his prophet, will be there in glory with Allah. Did you just hear the Shituf? Their prophet, Muhammad, is with God mamish. And they're laughing and smiling about the retribution. That is a Shituf thought. There is a man who is mamish with God. So do you see how non-kosher Torah will lead you to a Shituf thought of God? Yes or no? One or two. So whether it's Christian, whether it's Islam, whatever non-kosher Torah you want. Yeah. Anytime a man or thing is attached to God, and it may even be you. You may be the emissary, right? Just like in Buddhism, right? I am so enlightened, all Shefa comes through me. I am a yogi Buddha, type 1, right? All Shefa comes through me and my godly powers. I just made myself a Shituf demigod through Buddhism. So again, my rabbi is a pastor. He knows the Torah better than anyone. That means better than Moshe Rabbeinu, which means he's higher than Moshe Rabbeinu. In that person's mind, God gave him direct revelation on a level of prophecy higher than Moshe. That's called God. Again, if you think those thoughts, you're in Shituf. If you're in Shituf, you're not doing Avodah Zarah. It's just recommended to reject Shituf. And the Rambam then gives you the prescription how to reject Shituf. Accept the 7 laws as Moshe was taught at Sinai and through the Torah of Moshe. Correct? You do that with intention. Ger Toshav B'Kol Makom. Shituf is one step closer to developing your Shituf, making a new religion, ascribing power to God, and ultimately worshiping another God. If you want to be clear of all Shituf, it's called Ger Toshav. Now, some people call Ben Noach kosher, Ben Noach gamor, but those are synonyms like 1b to the Ger Toshav, which is 1a. And the only reason why we get rid of Ger Toshav in the 1a is because since there's no Ger Toshav today, because it's not Jubilee in the Lechachila sense, some people are more comfortable to call it a higher level Ben Noach. But that doesn't mean that it's actually not a Ger Toshav. It's just 2 different ways of expressing the same thing. Because the Ger Toshav of today is not the Ger Toshav Jubilee. Rambam Hilchos Malachim 8, 10, and 11, Ger Toshav is fundamentally not Ger Toshav Yovel. And as Jacques pointed out, notice it doesn't mention Yovel. Yeah, I think I made all my points. Does anybody have any questions before we close this off? I think I made my points. And again, I agree that the Bnei Noach should not be in Shituf. But I do not agree that I should invent my own religion of Ben Noach and invent my own opinions and change them at every whim because I believe in a Ben Noach who is a super Gentile, meaning it contains every level. And if you want God more than that, you got to convert. And we don't endorse Christianity. So we attack all religions, make them Noahides, make the Noahides reject Shituf, and really you should convert if you want God. That's wrong. And they have to lie about the Torah sources to make that agenda work. For the Ask Noah, Chad Blumenstiel approach, I agree with that approach too. It's much easier to say be a Noahide, take Kabbalah, not in Beis Din, and it's like he rejected Shituf. The only problem is you learn that out from the Rambam, and the Rambam there says Ger Toshav, and the Rambam there doesn't say Yovel. And what does Chad Blumenstiel say? That Rambam there is speaking about a Yovel, which we'll cover that next time. Justin, your job is to remind me next week to continue with Chad's shir, and we're going to cover the Rambam, Hilchos Malachim 8, 10, 11. Can I get a 1, Justin, on that? Please remind me for next week's Tuesday class to do Chad on the Rambam. Since we covered Shavakoyan in the Shituf discussion. So again, I agree that Noahides should reject Shituf. But the problem is you have to lie and use svara and make it up for that to work. That's why there's Ger Toshav. The rabbi's system is Ger Toshav. You don't have to convert because of Ger Toshav. Ger Toshav is a reality. There's no need to make stuff up. And when you know about Ger Toshav, you can leave the Bnei Noach alone, let them figure it out, and that's how the halacha works of making Gerim, that the Noahide that realizes to reject Shituf, Lichofoto, make Gerim, he'll reject Shituf, he doesn't have to convert, and he's on safe ground, and he has a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu.